Well, good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Polari. Our guest is a long-time friend. Haven't met him, haven't seen him in a fair bit, but that doesn't mean he hasn't been on television. It's just your program this morning on TVC. So great to see you again and have you, Achike Chude.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, Yori.
Rights activist.
Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure.
Yeah.
Well, rights activist, I want to see whose rights you are going to be speaking for, because it could be a government, it could be labor, it could be the workers. So as not to confuse the two, labor and workers. So rights activist, when you begin to speak, I will see, okay. But, jokes apart, there's a lot to do in the sense that the NLC president, Comrade Joe Ajaero, he's hit the news for, in an interview speaking not in Nigeria, not in local currency, but in foreign currency, referencing $200 as his recommendation that should be the new minimum wage. So we have Comrade Joe Ajaero, NLC president, talking about the Nigerian worker really needs a minimum of $200. He didn't say 200,000 naira because we've had to translate that for people to sort of get a better idea of what it's all about. So he's saying $200 or 200,000 naira a month. And he gave the impression that he's being conservative in that actually 200,000 naira per month for the Nigerian worker doesn't even cut it. But no doubt, from the point of view of labor, trying to be reasonable and seeing it, we're all in here, maybe they can manage 200,000 naira to begin with. Let's start from there. Is this, he said he predicated it on transportation, food, school fees for your children, and all of those things. Is this a case of labor, the president of labor, setting the sky as a limit so that when it comes to really talking, getting down to the brass tacks, haven't set the sky as the limit, at least you touch the ceiling?
Well, look, I think, like you said, he had predicated it on some things. And so it's not that he made a statement in the air, and then you now ask him justify it, and he starts scratching his head. There are certain concrete issues he talked about: transportation, feeding, house rent, electricity bills, school fees, and all of that.
All of it emanating from the removal of the subsidy on fuel.
Yes, and so you now ask yourself, for instance, and I think if we want to do this properly, really, if you look at, we're all Nigerians, we have an idea what has happened in the past. Inflation has been going up.
Yeah, is that a record?
For quite some time.
What?
Especially now with the removal of fuel subsidy, we all knew the implications, and they were living with the consequences, really. Everything has hit the roof. And that making life much more difficult than it has ever been, before. And so when you look at all of these issues, I mean, talking about accommodation, what is the average accommodation? And the accommodation, again, what kind of accommodation are we talking about? Are we talking about the face me, I face you kind of accommodation that does not allow for the privacy of even the mother and the father, if you know what I mean, in the other room, and which is also not a good thing when you have children exposed to certain things that adults do. So you're talking about maybe a one-bedroom with a sitting room, and then all the other amenities. How much would that cost in a year? So even if you look at it, and then all the transportation movement from here and there, if they are lucky, the children will be going to school somewhere that is within trekking distance, because people are now being very, very innovative. For those people, especially after the increase in the pump price of fuel, there are people who are, you could say, maybe verging towards the middle class, kind of, who also had to face realities and had to take realistic decisions. They now had to pull their children from schools that they were either paying for school buses or they had to drop in school, and then now look for schools that are nearer, perhaps not of the same standard that they were going before, but giving something in order to get something.
But I have heard as much as to let me conclude that all of this seems to be leaning in the direction of as if you are actually, you can identify with perhaps, if not support, totally, this demand of $200, 200,000 naira minimum wage. Bearing in mind that we're at 30,000 naira now. Some states, many states can't even pay that.
You see, the 30,000 was abominable.
Yes.
The 18,000 before the 30,000 was offensive. And there's no way, it's inhuman. Let me just put it, it's inhuman. If you say you're going to pay your worker in a country like Nigeria, even before the increase in the removal of subsidy now, things were already that difficult. Inflation was verging towards around 14-point-something%. Right now it's around 25% and the rest. It has never, the 30,000 was never going to be enough for anybody.
Around 19%.
Yeah, it was never going to be anything meaningful. So for me, it was a wonder, the miracle, how people were surviving on a daily basis. It just didn't make sense. For instance, 30,000 naira translates to 1,000 naira a day, which is right now maybe about $1 a day. What are you going to do with it? And in a day, there are so many activities that will revolve around that money that you're earning. You're going to pay, if you're doing it on a daily basis, light that you're going to use, energy will cost a fraction of that more, 1,000 naira.
You're right.
Feeding will cost a fraction of that 1,000 naira. A loaf of bread is 1,000. So it was never possible.
It
so
wasn't.
The issue is this. So in good conscience, and it's not just about wanting to support labor, but it's about, wanting to support humanity.
But how doable? I hear you, sir. But how practically doable?
Yes.
It's like labor knows that because they are men of intelligence and education, so they know that it is, as our people would put it, Zebruda might say, impossible. It is an impossible suggestion.
Well, you see, we've had these arguments several times, and I'm sure you've had these discussions also with other people, really. Can we cut down cost of governance? We will get to, there's so many, because this discussion will also, go to other areas. And you realize that government is not interested in addressing some of the fundamental issues plaguing the Nigerian state. And I'm not talking of this government.
Okay.
Governments in the past. We've had the same situation, even under the PDP, it has been the same issue of cost of governance, everybody shouting. Why must you give the National Assembly so much money? For what, going into hundreds of billions of naira on a yearly basis? Why is it that they are being paid about, 18 to 32 million naira? If you look at not just salaries, but total emoluments, allowances, and the rest. They have not denied that. In fact, Shehu Usani at a time, agreed that they were earning as much. And this is not just, we're talking on a national level. It also means that at the state level, all the state houses of assembly, that their members are earning so much. And if they are earning so much, then why is the executive keeping quiet that they are earning so much? It is also because the executive also are also earning something similar. And so it's not just that. That's one area.
Yeah, but
that's one area.
You also need to factor in
concrete.
Yes, but you also need to factor in the fact that it's not as if government is just folding its arms on the plight of the Nigerian worker. A number of, the word must be used, palliatives have been put out there. I know that's a controversial word.
No, I have never been an apostle of palliatives, especially the kind of palliatives we've been having in this country. Whether it is...
Because the impression could be got that, look, that's not my job. I'm not a spokesman for government, but the impression could be created that government is just folding its arms, looking the other way, does not care, is not empathetic, none of which is true if we were to go by what we have heard coming from the president and his ministers.
Yes, you see, the issue is this. They have said that they are concerned. They have said that, they understand the pains that we have to bear. But the only thing, my only problem with such statements is that, and then the need for sacrifice by Nigerians, and that hopefully we get over the line.
Yes.
No wahala. But my only problem is that from 1979 to date, I'm not aware of any single sacrifice that the political elites have made in this country.
But that can be addressed.
I'm not aware that they have made any sacrifice then and now, currently.
Okay.
So these are some of the issues. For instance, the issue of tightening your belt was a word we began to hear under the Buhari administration, the Shehu Shagari administration. It has continued unabatedly. So whenever, for instance, you want to touch subsidy, the people suffer it. And then we're also talking about, money. Where do we look at, to get these monies from? Femi Falana has talked severally about the monies that Nigeria is losing in terms of court judgments that have gone against, court decisions against oil majors, international oil corporations operating in Nigeria, going into trillions of naira, according to him.
So when you're talking about...
Governments have lacked the ability to recover this money.
You are talking about wastages.
We're talking about wastages.
If those
and
wastages
where the monies, where
exist,
the monies are going to come from. And because the issue is this, and then again, you're talking about, we were told that we're losing about 400,000 crude barrels of crude oil a day. How much, has it gone down? The theft in the oil sector, has it gone down for instance, 400,000 to 300,000 barrels? And if it has gone down, how much are we going to recover from that? If you put all of these things in financial terms, in facts and figures, it will be easier to say, look, we can actually make 1 trillion naira perhaps every month, every 2 months, and so on. Now, with this 1 trillion money, which government also needs, because it's not just money for the workers, which government also needs. You understand? Then we can say, okay, we are going to do this. Now, then there's a problem. The people who are making money from this, from all of these illegitimate or illicit business enterprises, for instance, illegal oil bunkering, for instance, how are you now going to stop it? That means you must have, as a government, you must be able to say, look, I will take this people on, regardless of the consequences, because these are very powerful people. But that's what government does. Government is supposed to be bigger than every entity that exists in a country. Because government is an aggregation of all the strength and powers of a people. But so
this particular administration that we're in now, the Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration, it has indicated by so many words and so many actions that it's not business as usual. That you see, whereas I understand when you say government, you're not talking about this particular administration.
No,
not necessarily. You're talking about government through the ages. And unless you have a critique of the assertion and intention that this is not business as usual, and unless you're going to look away from some of the measures that have indeed been introduced, not all of which are palatable, then I don't know, I would imagine that some in the administration will be saying that, whereas you can say what you're saying because you're factually correct, but it's not really fair to compare this administration that has a stated intention to do things differently. However, these are not overnight issues. You want a baby, you can't have a baby overnight. There is a gestation period.
No, of course, I agree. But the easiest things to do are words. Clearly, words are, and words.
Whereas what we need, what we need,
action backing up the words.
What we need is
action backing up the words.
And more concretely, we need to increase our production if we're ever going to be able
these are some
to
I agree. These are some of the issues. These are some of the challenges. In as much as we say yes, the government has been new, relatively new, and the rest. But for goodness' sake, we have been told several times that it's in the bright day that you look for the black goat. That's an old African saying, which is also true. And we have the experience of our past travails with different governments to realize that we cannot take the words of this government for what it says. Not because this government might have failed, but because we have the experience of other governments in this country also telling the people the same thing, making promises, to the people and not being able to deliver on those promises. So these are some of the issues. And that's why we are wary of any new government that comes in and says we are going to do this until we begin to see the outcome of some of the, because we have 63 years.
What you're saying,
don't forget that we have 63
put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah, it's simple.
Put your money where your mouth is.
It's as simple as that, because governance is not easy. And that's why every government has a holiday period, just like honeymoon, a couple that just got married and all that. So they will give the normal time. But now, from experience, I think Nigerians are learning that you don't give too much time anymore. Because the last one that came in was given about 3 years, 4 years. And they kept on, and the only way they were succeeding with what they were trying to do was to blame the past for the present. And they did that for 3, 4 years continuously until Nigerians woke up and said, no, what the past is the past. Leave the other government alone. Let us concentrate on what is happening with your government. So these are some of the issues. So it's not just this government, but the government must be able to walk the talk. And people don't have, look, your routines are hard for Nigerians. Nigerians are going through almost, let's use the word, maybe hell.
Okay.
It's not easy. And so whoever occupies the position as president, for instance, we find it very, very difficult to appease the people. But that must be done.
It still has to be done.
Like you said, I sought for this job.
Exactly.
I applied for this job. You understand? So it is going to be, it's not easy, but if he doesn't do it, people are going to bounce on him and bounce on the party that is in power.
Which he fully intends to do, going by the statement that we asked for this job. So indicating that there will be no cop-out in terms of what needs to be done. This is actually going to require, if not a revolutionary, at least a radical reapproachment of how we do what we do in Nigeria. In the meantime, we've been joined, thankfully, by Comrade Fume Sesi. Comrade Fume Sesi is the chair of Nigeria Labour Congress, Lagos chapter. A fine morning to you, comrade.
Thank you, Mr. Yori, and good morning to all Nigerians at home and viewers.
Indeed. So, comrade, well, as you are well aware, in an interview, the president of NLC, Comrade Ajaero, has proposed a new minimum wage of, I don't know why dollars are being used, but he didn't say 200,000 naira, roughly. He said $200. But for the sake of better understanding, let's just use the ballpark figure of 200,000 naira. Comrade Sesi, do you think that is really for bargaining and negotiations sake, along the lines of reach for the sky, at least you'll touch the ceiling? 200,000 naira minimum wage in a country where the distressing figure of 30,000 naira cannot even be paid by many states.
Thank you very much. The comrade president of NLC, he did not make a mistake when he mentioned that $200, since our currency is like it's being replaced with the dollar, and our life revolves around, our economy revolves around the dollar. We cannot breathe, we cannot do anything. We cannot buy water, we cannot buy anything except we survive on dollars. That was the reason why he mentioned that definitely Nigerians cannot survive except to pay at least $200.
But we don't spend dollars. Why didn't he want to say 200,000 naira? We don't spend dollars here. You can't give a dollar to any woman in the market.
How do we get to the level that dollars determines our economy? How do we get to the level that dollar determines the price of the fuel? How do we get to the level that dollar determines the price of cement, the price of food items? It's dollar rate that determines everything in Nigeria. So that is how we arrived at $200 at least. Okay, now fast forward to what you have just said. If we have to equate and said 200,000 naira, we know the rate of a dollar in the market now. If we have to change it, you know that $200 is even higher than the 200,000 naira. But let's leave that and let's go to the level of 200,000 naira. We know that as we are talking right now, some states could not pay 30,000 naira. But those states that could not pay 30,000 naira, how many are the workforce in those states? How much is their, how much do they get as a allocation from the federal government? What are the things that they have used? What are the infrastructure? And what are the things that they have used their IGR and also the allocation from the federal government? What have they been able to use the money to do? The fact is that in Nigeria, most of us, we follow the bandwagon effect. We don't ask our leaders. We don't ask for accountability. We don't ask them to account for what they have used our resources and our commonwealth to do. And so it's been free for all.
Okay.
They have been on holiday, just doing whatever they like with the money.
Okay.
So if you have to look at it, those states that have failed to pay the people 30,000 naira, how have they affected their states?
All right.
In a positive.
But you know, the big thing that we need to do, comrade, I asked that question of, well, I made that point with Achike Chude, in the rights activist guest of ours this morning. You know, what we really have to do is boost our production, our domestic production. This matter about everything, well, a lot of things being imported from abroad, including food. I'm speaking here about rice, for example. Being imported from abroad, it's just not going to work until we begin to look at ways to, in fact, boosting production has been spoken of as the panacea for a lot of our woes. Once we can boost production, then we can increase the money that we have available to do whatever it is. Otherwise, still talking about dollars, we're going to have to be sourcing scarce dollars to do a lot of the things that we need to do. And we have become creatures of habit. The things that we like, the things that we're ready to pay for, are those things that are coming from abroad. So it's a vicious cycle, isn't it?
There are some things, Mr. Yori, that we need to do. We need to prepare the ground. We need to put the foundation right before we start, yielding from productions. Number one is the issue of the energy. Someone that was really, really out there to do the needful was assassinated in that aspect of energy. The energy is a major factor that will determine how the production is being sorted out. If the energy is not there, we know how much diesel goes for now. It's 1,200 per liter of diesel. So which company will survive running every day on diesel for production? This will also affect the end product. And who are the people that will pay for it? It's the consumers. We have seen how major multinational companies, how they have moved out in this country in droves because of this perennial problem of energy that is driving them crazy. They have gone to neighboring countries where in most of the instances we are even the one that are giving them energy. We are the one giving them light. And yet they have a stable energy in their country. So, and also other indices that are making production and companies that are producing to leave the country.
Okay.
Many of them are living quietly. The latest is Smith Beecher that are also leaving. Why they have not announced that they are leaving? Augmentin tablet was around 5,000 naira, 6,000. But immediately they announced they are leaving this country, Augmentin is now sold for 20,000 naira. Can you imagine?
The law
aside from that one,
supply and demand.
we also need, hello, Mr. Yori, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, we also need to look at some other indices as well. Security is a major issue. The northern part of the country and some areas in the southwest and southeast, they are major, and also the middle belt. They are major agricultural produce states. But because of insecurity, many people have run away from farms. They cannot go to tilt the land because they are also afraid of their life. Who is to protect them?
Yeah. Actually, I hear you, comrade. I hear all that you're saying, comrade. These are the challenges that that cannot be denied. This government cannot deny them, is not denying them. But the feasibility, coming back to Achike Chude in our studio now, of that figure. Now, look, workers are the people who will suffer from all of this if it goes beyond being a talking point, by which I mean, you look at the part that that governments play in the employment whole sector. As you know, there are many, many more people in the civil service, in the federal and state civil service, many, many more people than are necessary. I think HR people, and they call them either right sizing or, there are so many people that are surplus to needs They're not even doing anything, let it be said.
Why the issue is, why are they surplus to need? Because the reality is that, look, what Ceci was trying to say was essentially she was talking about expanding the economic space. If you don't expand the economic space, the economy itself, it's like, for instance, the new CBN governor has come in and people think he's going to do magic. There's no magic he's going to do, no matter how good he is. And from what we are told, he has some good pedigree. But it is the economic policy of the government that will determine how successful the CBN governor, for instance, is going to be. Because it is the politicians that determine the kind of economy that will be run, which will be carried out by people like the CBN governor and all the other people. So what kind of economic policy are we talking about? You're also talking about an economic policy that is dictated to us by the West also. You know, you have to do this, you have to do this. And evidence abounds that, you know, not everything the Bretton Woods institutions have done, the IMF and the World Bank, all the recommendations they have given to Africa, they had to acknowledge some time ago that their recommendations have not exactly worked.
Exactly.
Because you also have to ensure that some of these things are tailor-made to our needs in the African continent. In Latin America, most of the countries where they intervened, you know, so much, are all, you know, mired in very serious debts, you know, verging on the bank, you know, on the brink of bankruptcy. So these are some of the issues. So you need people that will think outside of the box,
okay,
and not to be dictated to.
One moment, yeah, I beg your pardon for interrupting you, but Mr. George, good morning. Mr. George has called in from Lagos.
And greetings to the guests.
Yes.
Uncle Yori, the government can pay even more than 200,000 naira if things were in the right perspective. Now, in the first place, Labour is very wrong to be quoting what they want in dollars. There's a law in our country that says local transactions must be done in local currency. That is why when you lodge in hotels, you are not permitted to be paying dollars. You must pay in naira. If you do any transaction in the public space, it is done. So why should they be talking about dollars? Now, Uncle Yori, let us look at it this way. Why did I say that that government can pay more than that money Labour is asking for? It is because corruption is killing us. For example, oil theft. If Labour, unfortunately, Labour believes that their own duty is just to ask for remunerations. They don't have any other duty except to ask for more money for their members. Labour is in a position to curb corruption in this country. Uncle Yori, oil theft is Pengassan and its members insist that nobody will steal our crude. It cannot happen. Because it cannot happen without the connivance of Pengassan members that work in the high sea. A Labour woman there can testify. Civil servants are the ones padding our budget. The money that will have been spent to do other things and pay more salaries goes into the private pockets of leaders and politicians. Who aid them? It is the civil servants. Are they not members of Labour? The minister, you saw the recent developments. Well, the minister will come to power and says, no, the way you have been doing things, let's do it differently in order to improve productivity and get more money. They'll say, who are you? You met us here. This is federal. This is not state. Am I lying? Let the woman answer me.
So you think corruption is part of the equation?
Yes, and Labour is not doing anything to discourage corruption. And if Labour says corruption will not happen, Uncle Yori, I can tell you, corruption will not happen. I am a consultant. I go into ministries and departments and agencies of government to do business. And I know what I experience in the hands of, civil servants. If they say corruption will not happen, I can tell you, Uncle Yori, it will not happen. And if there's no corruption, there will be more money to even pay more than what Labour is asking for now. So
all right, then. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. George. Okay, welcome back. Our guest this morning, Achike Chude, rights activist in studio here. And joining us remotely is the chair of the Nigeria Labour Congress Lagos chapter, Comrade Funmi Sesi. She's joining us remotely. Okay, I'd like to bring this to you because it really spoke to Labour. You heard what that last caller said, Mr. George. The role of Labour in all of this. I don't know. What would you like to say to that Labour could take on much more role For example, I'm reminded of the recent incident of in the Ministry of Works, the minister there, Dave Umahi, complaining that he couldn't work without people and people won't come to work. And labor was seen, at least somebody who was donning, in some uniform to indicate that he was labor and was speaking for labor, and he was saying that no. You can't bring anything that is going to be looking, you might see it as efficiency, but sorry, you can't do it. And the man was simply saying that we're not getting value for money. People don't come to work. And labor was seen protecting those people who the minister alleged show up for maybe 1 or 2 hours and are gone. It did look like there are times when we're wondering if labor is actually on our side. So if you'd like, would you relate to that question about labor itself is not doing all that it can and is concerned itself more with asking more from government, making impossible demands, and that sort of thing? How would you like to respond to that?
Well, the last caller, to a reasonable level, I will agree, and to some level, I will also disagree with some of his statements. Labor, what is our role? Our role is basically and primarily to take care of the welfare of the workers. But by extension, we also do much more than that. In the economy of the country, since labor creates wealth, and we are seen to be partners in progress with the government, we extend our services and our activities more than taking care of the welfare of the workers. We extend it to also ensuring that the economy of the country is in the right state. And that was what made the labor to be very vehement and speaking out about our refineries that the government has put into a state of disrepair, and that the government has been spending money for years without coming close to the conclusion in the refurbishment of the 4 refineries. Instead of that, they have, lent the support with using our Commonwealth money, supporting an individual to building a capacity oil tank and a refinery that, government even went as far as sources for loan for that individual, something they could have used to expand and refurbish the 4 refineries that we have.
You're talking about the Dangote refinery.
You mentioned it, and that is exactly what it is. So, that one aside, labor has been the one that has been on the neck of the government, talking about this refinery at all times. How many groups, how many individuals have ever been talking and so vehement like labor has been doing? Even in the MOU that was signed last week with labor and the government, they have agreed to set up a committee, and they have to pay a visit to see those trillions of naira that has gone into the refurbishment, how far they have gone.
Yeah.
And we are insisting, and we are still insisting, that the refineries must be put to use, and we should be able to refine our crude locally to reduce the importation of finished product of PMS into the country. And this is how we got messed up in the issue of the scarcity of a dollar. Buying our crude, we take it to somewhere, and then they refine, and we now buy at exorbitantly high cost and on dollar rate. And that is what informed Dangote, telling us in Nigeria now that even his own private refinery, by the time he start refining, he will be selling at dollar rate. You can imagine.
Additionally, I think Dangote, I think that project is reported to have paid back 75% as we speak now. Sorry to interrupt you, comrade, but also I have Kehinde, who is on the line, calling in from Offa in Kwara State. Good morning, Kehinde.
Good morning, sir. Just want to participate in your program today.
Sure, go ahead, please.
Yeah, you said the demand by the union of $200, as far as I'm concerned, is quite okay. For the fact that this $200 was about the money paid to us when we were serving in just 1984. I was receiving 200 naira, which was equivalent to $200. So the government have not been honest with us, both the civil servant and the general public. The rate of dollars has continued to go against
$200, really? 200,000 naira?
Yes. We were paid 200 naira when I was serving in 1984, which was equivalent to about 200,000 naira.
Okay. So that's your 200,000 naira. Comrade Ajaero is now saying should be 200,000 naira.
Yes, is it not as well as paying us that 200 naira in 1984?
Okay. Yeah.
Because my allowance at that time...
Maybe that's why he preferred to use the, more manageable figure perhaps of $200 rather than...
No, I think Comrade Sesi has explained it.
When I was serving.
I think Comrade Sesi...
Okay, thank you very much,
Akinde. has explained it. Look, it was even deliberate by Joe Ajaero, even using that $200, for instance. Because, why are we having problems because Labour mentioned $200? Politicians are always talking in dollar terms and pounds terms. They're always storing their monies, in dollars and pounds and all that. So how much respect do the politicians give to the Nigerian currency itself in the very first place? So there are contradictions. But I understand the reason why maybe you brought it up, because it seemed a little bit funny. And for George, who also made points that I also agree and also disagree with to some extent, it's also the fact that even hotels, he says it's the law, local law says hotels are charging in dollars in this country for quite some time now, and Nigerians have been paying, including the politicians, and that is the truth. Then the other one the
ordinary citizen cannot be billed in dollars. And
No, but we are talking about use. He was saying that it's been outlawed and so on.
Okay.
So, and then, yes, you talked about Dave Umahi and his confrontation with workers.
Look at that.
Yes.
Look at that. And
look, I agree. See, I'm not sure anybody will condone late coming, and we should not be condoned. And that was why even Sesi herself was saying that she agreed with some of those points. Now, we cannot condone it. And there was a reason they gave. And that reason, the reasons they gave was vitiated by what happened subsequently. What am I talking about? They were talking about the cost of transportation and the rest. We can live with that because that is true. It has gone up. Some companies, especially private companies, are doing some more work at home online to avoid having to pay for the excess transportation. But the fact that they eventually came to work by maybe 10 o'clock meant that they could have come to work by 8 o'clock. So it's not an excuse. If you did not come, if they did not come to work, we could say, yeah, maybe they didn't have the transport.
But that they came late and are going to leave early.
You understand? And so that in itself was wrong, absolutely wrong. But then again, there was an approach. And the minister's approach was not the right approach.
Okay.
That approach was the military-style approach that we had seen in this country. And don't forget that the reason why our politicians behave the way they do has been as a result of the many years of militarization of the Nigerian political space.
Even though Dave Umahi said he didn't lock the gates, but that is up there for...
Yeah, but the workers were massed outside, so something happened. You understand? So what I'm saying is that within the civil service rules and regulations, there are provisions for dealing with such situations, really.
Yes.
Late coming and the rest. But obviously, so many people have become lax in their duties, whether the permanent secretaries, whether whoever is in charge, because there are stipulations about some of these things. And so he was a bit, and don't forget that there are excellencies, that they were once excellencies, these ministers, some of these ministers. And so they are still having this, carryover from the period when they were governors who were emperors. Because by virtue, we have seen how the governors behaved in their states, in their enclaves. They were emperors. They were unquestionable. So to bring it again to the civil service, I'm not saying you should not, but it must be done in
a recommended. There are recommended processes.
Exactly.
The other point about there's absolutely no way government can pay 200,000 naira or $200. With this matter that we spoke about earlier, Comrade Sesi will be listening here. The population of workers, we've agreed that ministries and all of these people have people access to their needs.
No,
now,
and I answered.
You want to pay this,
yes,
and you don't want to bring down the number of staff. It doesn't work like that.
I answered. And you know, the issue is this is blackmail that the government uses all the time. And if you don't do this, if you don't agree, then we are going to do this and all that. You know, and I answered. There was something I said, maybe you didn't take cognizance of it. You need to expand the economic space in the country first.
Yes, okay. That's what you said.
Once you expand the economic space, obviously, once the economy is thriving, different aspects, more job opportunities, more responsibilities increase.
Okay.
It is because of the doldrum within the economic system in this country. Nothing worthwhile is happening within the economy. And so it would appear as if there is much less responsibility. But to say you have about 50,000 workers,
yes,
maybe workforce, for instance.
Of which only 5,000.
And then you say, okay, maybe 20,000 are needed, 30,000 are not needed.
Yes.
It's simply because of the fact that the government has not sorted out the issue of the economy. And that is why, for instance, if you're looking at energy...
So that's why they're in all these ministries.
If you're looking at the quantum of energy that is in use today in the country, 5,000 megawatts maximum at any point in time. But in real fact, for a country the size of Nigeria, we should be talking about 15 to 20,000 megawatts. And once you do that, you will unleash, very serious potentials, that have been hidden in Nigerians. And you will see the economy begin.
Indeed, I hear what you're saying.
Much more responsibility given out to some of these.
Okay, coming back to Fumi, because, as has been said, Achike here said that what you were saying essentially, for people who can understand it, is that the economic space has to be expanded. Well, we have this situation on our hands here. Everybody is looking for a way. President Tinubu said he feels the pinch as well. Everybody is looking. People can't afford anything anymore. Anything, you gave the example of a particular drug that has now skyrocketed. And this $200, 200,000 naira, is to be paid by everybody, whether private sector, whether non-private sector, everybody is supposed to pay it. How is that going to work? And one of the ways in which it is working is that businesses out there are simply decreasing quantity. What the eba that you used to buy, now people even tell you that there's no 100 naira rice. You can't say to a person now, give me 100 naira rice. No, go see 100 naira rice. So
okay, thank you, Mr. Yori. Okay.
Please, take it from there. Take it from there, Comrade.
Okay, thank you. I just hope you will use some time for me so that I could. Number one, let me take it from the angle of the former governor of Enugu, Minister Umahi.
Yes.
He got it wrong. He got it wrong with the approach and the manner that he used to deal with the workers. Number one, immediately you resume as a minister, you need to do consultations. You need to meet with the people. You need to have meetings and see the working ways of that ministry. You need to fashion out together. You need to talk. You need to, discuss how you will move that ministry. How whatever they are doing that you feel that is wrong, or whatever they are doing that is good, you applaud or you appraise, and then you also discuss with them your own vision and the mission for that ministry. Having said that, you see that the approach that he took, he himself at the end of the day, he agreed that he was wrong and he apologized profusely to the workers. The times are very hard and difficult for people. Anytime Olaranta, he who that is down, need fear no fall. Already, people are already down. We have been degraded. You understand? And so everybody is now on the verge of the anger, the annoyance, the pain, and everything is so much.
Yeah, comrade.
And you could see that some people they can no longer take it.
Comrade, I'm going to interrupt you, but I'm coming straight back to you. Adelano has called in from the UK. I'm coming straight back to you. Good morning, Mr. Adelano in the UK.
Hello. Hello, Mr. Yori.
Yes, good morning.
Hello.
Go ahead quickly, please. Adelano in the UK. Go ahead.
Yes.
Comrade, I think
Good
you should
morning,
continue. For some reason, there's a disjointed... Yes, continue, comrade.
When the minister came in, can you hear me, Mr. Yori? It could have as well
Yes.
provided transportation for the workers. There are some ministries that provide transportation. There are some companies that provide transportation for the workers. Your own is just to get the vehicle, 6:30 a.m. This vehicle will move at social place, and that means that people will get to their places of work at good time. And so he should have looked for a way of how he will mitigate and bring about palliatives to cushion the effect of what the subsidy removal has done to all the
I
workers.
hear you, comrade, but the productivity, the productivity.
Okay, what we are talking about productivity, from the other angle that government is declaring that there is overbloated workers in the civil service, let the government also talk about politicians and political positions. Have they not overbloated political positions? Have we not seen how many aides the politicians are having? Have we not seen? Okay, let us know the salaries of political class. Let us all be on the same page. That was what we were saying when they were announcing the National Assembly. They were announcing 70 billion for themselves and their offices. When they announced 35 billion to judiciary, and what is now left for the workers and for Nigerians? Nothing was left to us until labor. That was why I said I agree with some people. If they don't have information, they should also seek for information. But sometimes people seek for information, they know, but they are quick to judge the labor. As if labor should take up the whole problem of Nigeria. We should show that it, even to a large extent, it's still labor that is still remaining, that is still talking in Nigeria. Is it not the same labor that has been very vehement, charging the government against the subsidy removal, telling government that they have to return the subsidy, telling government that they have to also cushion the effect of the removal of the subsidy? So you have seen the situation in which the government now, we try to hold the government accountable for
Indeed. Let me come back to studio as well. I think I kept my...
He knows what was on ground before he took over. And now we have to ensure that the government run and the government continues. So for government to say that we have overbloated workers, we will not agree to that. But rightly as Comrade Chudi has said, when we have the right policies, everybody will be useful. And when we have the right plan, everybody will be useful. We can put people to use in every way. But those facilities that people actually need for them to achieve and to perform, government must provide.
Okay, let me try a London call again. I think this time it's Biodun in the UK. Good morning, Biodun. Well, we have a problem with...
Hello, good morning, Uncle Yori. I'm happy to be with you this morning.
Oh, thank you. Good morning. Go ahead, please.
Good morning. My name is Biodun. I'm calling from Birmingham in the United Kingdom.
Okay.
Good morning.
Glad to have you. 200,000 naira minimum wage, a labor idea floated recently. Your take? Oh, I can see.
Honestly speaking, hello, can you hear me, Uncle Yori?
Yes, please go ahead quickly. Please carry on. We can hear you clearly.
Yeah. Yes. The point I want to make is just going to be very straightforward. We've been politicizing the issue. Yes, thank you, Uncle Yori. Can you hear me, Uncle Yori?
I have said yes. Please don't be distracted by anything. Just continue. Okay, it looks like there's a problem, because I'm sure he would have. First of all, it was Adelano, and then now it's Biodun, and the UK lines are not working today. But from what Comrade Fumi has said, and your very good self here also commented on some of those issues, that look, we have to sort of understand each other, and that government is not being unreasonable when you look at the full picture. I mean, I beg about not government. Labor, it might not be as preposterous an idea as some might first of all think when you look at the whole lie of the ground. Yeah. And so much that can be done that isn't being done.
You know, what is affecting your own perception? And I think you're also trying to say it as you think it is. Since they have not been able to pay 30 18,000 minimum wage. We are not able to pay 18,000 minimum wage. Therefore, asking government to pay 200,000 is a bit
because where are they going to get it from? Because labor will kick against cutting jobs.
Yeah. You see, it's very Herculean and all of that.
Yeah.
But we have also given.
So why are you giving us talking points?
Let me just,
because these are little more than talking points.
Let me just say this.
You have to look at the economic reality on ground.
Yeah. Okay, I think your caller is back.
No, that's Tessie.
Okay.
Tessie is saying that you must look at the economic realities on ground. In fact, I just have...
Are they paying labor something, that is a necessity or something that's a luxury? It's about existence. Yes. And we are saying, and the argument is that...
Labor is saying
the average Nigerian worker, with a family of 2 or 3 children and a wife, we cannot even survive minimally. We barely survive with 200,000. So in terms of reality, 200,000 is nothing. Looking at the breakdown that you gave earlier,
with the economic reality,
yes, that needs to be paid. So these are it's not. And then again, he who goes to equity must come with clean hands.
All right.
The politicians are talking. And no, lastly, politicians are talking about downsizing and the rest. Is there any talk about downsizing downsizing the pay packet of the politicians, the number of ministers that we have that people have been complaining about as to the cost of government?
Okay, I could hear Fumi, but I didn't get a split screen. I thought I'd get a split screen of Fumi because Fumi was also interjecting there. But Comrade Fumi, this is where we are at. I think I've heard what you are saying, and Achike is also very much on that line.
We are on the same track. We are on the same line. We are almost, we are saying the same thing. Because if we have to look at it, the economic reality on ground now, everything has escalated. From the prices of goods and the prices of services. You have said it, there's no more rice, cooked rice of 100 naira. Do you want to buy amala of 200 naira? It's not even enough to feed a child of 6 months old.
You're right.
So far, you want people to survive. You don't want Nigerians to go into extinction. You don't want people to you don't want Nigerians to die. You don't want us, the hardship, you have to mitigate it. 200,000 naira is not enough.
It's not enough. It's not that it's not too much.
Government must declare an emergency.
All right then. Well, Comrade, I want to thank you very much. I got your perspective on this whole matter. And Achike is seconding. That's our program. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. Thank you both for coming on the program. I'm Yori Folarin. Bye-bye for now.